Kate and her husband, John, walk into the hospital. She's in labor and in obvious pain. Orderlies rush her off in a wheelchair while John hangs back at the admitting desk to fill out paperwork. No sooner has Kate disappeared down the hall than everything goes wrong. She starts bleeding heavily. She comes to in an operating room, flat on her back under bright lights, ringed by doctors and nurses. John still hasn't made it in, and the entire scene feels unreal and terrifying. Then a nurse delivers the blow. Her baby didn't make it. Kate can't process the words. Just then John finally bursts in, camera rolling, acting like nothing is wrong. The nurse places the lifeless infant in Kate's arms. Kate screams and bolts upright in her own bed. It was another nightmare. Shaken, she heads to the bathroom, lifts her nightgown, and traces the C-section scar on her belly. She swallows a pill. Next day, Kate sits in Dr. Browning's office. The therapist assures her that vivid nightmares are a normal reaction to losing a child at birth. Kate wonders aloud whether the dream was about the stillbirth or about their upcoming adoption. Maybe she isn't ready. She even thought about buying liquor, she admits. Dr. Browning points out the key detail. She thought about it, but didn't actually buy any. As for adopting, the doctor says the choice has to be Kate's. After therapy, Kate picks up her deaf daughter, Max, from school. On the drive home, Kate's mind wanders. When a light turns green, she inches forward and nearly causes a collision. Later, she sits at the piano, working on new music, but an incessant thump outside derails her concentration. She steps out and sees Max bouncing a basketball against the wall. Kate snaps at her to stop. Max signs a quick apology. John soon arrives with their son, Daniel, and the three horse around with the ball. That night, while tucking Max in, Kate reads her a story, the same one about the baby who died. Max signs, asking if she's getting a new sister. Before bed, Kate takes another pill, then slides under the covers next to John. They talk. She's made up her mind. They're moving forward with the adoption. Sometime later, the couple pulls into an orphanage driveway. Sister Abigail greets them and invites them to look around. Kate stays on the first floor, watching little girls play, while John heads upstairs to the second floor. John hears a delicate voice singing as he walks past one of the orphanage rooms. Curious, he peeks in and sees a young girl sitting alone, painting. She's clearly deep in concentration, but when she notices him, she smiles and tells him about the magical scene she's painting, a snowy forest with a girl lost in dreams. Her name is Esther. She speaks with an old-fashioned grace, and something about her composure catches John's attention. Moments later, Kate and Sister Abigail step into the room. John introduces them to Esther, and the three adults begin to chat. Esther explains that no one has ever really spoken to her like this before. She thinks it's because she's different. That only makes her more endearing in their eyes. After the meeting, John and Kate speak to Sister Abigail in private. She explains that Esther originally came from Russia. The family that brought her to the U.S. tragically died in a house fire. Despite the trauma, Esther is a well-behaved and very intelligent girl. Abigail is clearly fond of her, and Kate finds herself agreeing. There's something special about this girl. 3 weeks later, John and Kate return to the orphanage to officially bring Esther home. As they say their goodbyes to Sister Abigail, Esther hugs her tightly, and the couple leads her to their car. On the drive home, Kate begins teaching Esther some basic sign language so she can better communicate with Max. Esther is a quick learner. When they arrive at the house, Max runs out excitedly to greet them. Esther smiles warmly and immediately introduces herself, asking how much Max can hear. Kate explains that Max hears enough to read lips. Inside, Grandma Barbara and Daniel are waiting. Barbara is polite, but Daniel watches Esther with visible discomfort. That evening, everyone welcomes Esther with small gifts, everyone except Daniel. His jealousy is already creeping in, especially after Esther hugs John with genuine gratitude. Daniel retreats to the treehouse with his friends, flipping through adult magazines, while Esther and Max play outside in the snow. Inside, Kate and Barbara talk. Kate mentions that she plans to return to teaching once Esther has adjusted, but Barbara doesn't seem impressed. There's a subtle air of disapproval in her tone. Later that night, a storm rolls in. Kate and John are in their bedroom, just starting to get intimate, when a soft knock interrupts them. It's Max and Esther, asking to sleep in their bed because of the storm. Kate hesitates, but allows it. Esther wedges herself between them, deliberately choosing to sleep next to John. The following morning, The family is rushing to get out the door for school. Esther comes down the stairs dressed in an old-fashioned, ornate outfit, more suited for a recital than a school day. The other kids snicker, but Esther stands firm. There's nothing wrong with being different, she says, and Kate, despite her hesitation, lets her go dressed that way. At school, Esther is introduced to the class, but one of the boys mocks her, setting the tone for a difficult start. That afternoon, Esther and Max are playing near a frozen lake when Kate runs outside, panicking at her voice, warning them not to go near it. It's a rule, and Esther should have known better. Meanwhile, Daniel is nearby with a paintball gun. He fires at a bird, hitting it, and panics when he sees the animal struggling. Esther and Max approach. Seeing the bird suffering, Esther picks up a large rock and hands it to Daniel. "You have to finish it," she says. He refuses. Without hesitation, Esther does it herself, coldly and efficiently. Later, Esther goes to take a bath. Kate goes into her room to put away her laundry, but finds an old Bible stuck in a drawer. As Kate quietly flips through the strange little Bible, she doesn't notice Esther peeking out from the slightly open bathroom door. Hidden from view, Esther watches Kate closely, her expression unreadable. Inside the Bible, Kate finds a photograph tucked between the pages. It's an old image of a man, someone she doesn't recognize. The moment feels strange, but before Kate can dwell on it, she puts everything back as if nothing happened. The next day at school, Daniel is having a hard time. His friends mock him for his weird new sister, making comments about her accent and clothes. Embarrassed and frustrated, Daniel shoves Esther's books off her desk. As she bends down to gather them, one of the girls in her class notices the Bible peeking out of her bag. Curious and cruel, she grabs it. Esther tries to take it back, but during the tug-of-war, the Bible falls open onto the floor. Just as she picks it up, the girl grabs at the choker around Esther's neck, teasing, "Are you hiding a secret, doggy?" Esther lets out a loud, piercing scream, startling everyone in the classroom. Later that day, Kate sits with Esther at the piano, trying to create a calm, bonding moment between them. Esther follows along for a bit, but shuts down when Kate gently brings up the school incident. She doesn't want to talk about it. In an effort to cheer her up, Kate gives her a scrapbook she started for her, a place to collect happy memories. Esther seems touched and flips through it, then softly asks Kate about the baby she lost. Moved by her curiosity, Kate opens up. She tells Esther about the stillbirth and shows her the roses planted in the garden where they scattered the ashes. Esther listens silently, her face unreadable. That night, believing the kids are asleep, Kate and John share an intimate moment in the kitchen. Suddenly, Esther appears, watching them. The moment is uncomfortable and confusing for everyone. The next morning, Kate decides to speak to her about what happened. As Esther calmly paints at the kitchen table, she seems unaffected. When Kate tries to gently explain boundaries, Esther interrupts, casually saying she already knows what sex is, and then drops the F word in conversation. Kate is stunned. Later, she discusses it with John, suggesting therapy might help Esther process everything. But John disagrees. He thinks one bad word isn't a big deal and accuses Kate of overreacting again. In an effort to keep things normal, John takes Max and Esther to a nearby park. As the girls play on the swings, one of the neighbors strolls over and begins flirting with him. Esther watches them carefully, her gaze flicking between John and a familiar girl nearby. It's the classmate who pulled her choker. The bully keeps her distance, but watches Esther uneasily. As the girl walks toward the castle-shaped play structure, Esther follows. Max watches nervously from a distance. At the top of the slide, the girl hesitates, and just as she's about to go down, Esther gives her a sudden, hard push. The girl tumbles down, screaming in pain. The fall breaks her leg. That night at dinner, John brings up the incident. Esther claims the girl slipped, and Max, clearly frightened, nods and confirms it. John accepts it. Before they eat, Esther prays out loud, and surprisingly, Max signs along. She's clearly learning quickly and is even more fluent than Daniel. Feeling sidelined, Daniel lashes out, calling Esther names until his parents step in. Furious, he runs off, cursing under his breath. As punishment, John locks up his treehouse. The following day, while shopping, Kate receives a call from Sister Abigail. Esther refuses to speak with her, but Kate steps aside and quietly updates the sister on all the recent troubling behavior. What she doesn't realize is that Max is watching and silently reading her mother's lips. Later in the car, Max signs everything she saw to Esther. That night, Kate hears beautiful piano music coming from downstairs. She walks in, stunned to see Esther playing a complex piece with perfect technique. Confused, Kate asks why she pretended not to know how to play. Esther looks up at her and smiles sweetly. "I did it for your benefit," she says, with a voice too calm to be reassuring. That night, Kate and John get into an argument about Esther, and things quickly spiral out of control. In the other room, Esther listens to them, looking satisfied. One day, Sister Abigail comes to the house. She talks to the parents about Esther, explaining that she's worried something might be wrong with her. She lists a few incidents from Esther's past, including her possibly hurting other children. Esther hears everything and immediately goes to Max, telling her they need to stop the mean lady, so she doesn't take her away. Kate begins to think Abigail might be right, but John thinks she's overreacting. Kate suggests taking Esther to a therapist, and John agrees. Meanwhile, Esther tells Max to go find the keys to the treehouse. But instead of using them for that, Esther uses the keys to open John's safe and takes out a revolver. She removes the bullets, leaving one inside, and then points the gun at Max just to scare her. As Sister Abigail is driving away from the house, Esther takes Max to a bridge, saying they'll scare her so badly she'll never come back. When Abigail's car approaches, Esther pushes Max into the road. Abigail swerves and crashes. She gets out and finds Max crying on the ground. Suddenly, Esther hits her with a hammer. Esther then tells Max to help her move Abigail's body. They roll her off the road, but she's still alive, so Esther finishes the job with a hammer. Then they go into the treehouse, where Esther hides her bloody clothes and the weapon. She warns Max that if anyone finds out, she'll go to jail too just for helping. Esther tells Max she loves her, but Daniel sees them coming down from the treehouse, and Esther sees him watching. That night, she goes into his room holding a scalpel and threatens him not to say anything. Daniel is so scared he wets the bed. Later, John and Kate take Esther to see Dr. Browning. While Esther waits outside, the therapist talks to them and says there's nothing wrong with the girl, but she believes Kate might be the real issue. She explains that Kate could be feeling insecure as a mother and is projecting that onto Esther. John agrees with what the therapist is saying. When they return home, Kate gets a phone call from the orphanage. She's told that Sister Abigail hasn't come back since the day before. The police begin searching for Sister Abigail and eventually find her body in the same place Esther left it. At home, a police officer talks to Kate and John, explaining that they currently have no suspects. Upstairs, Esther is in her room, switching the light of her aquarium on and off. Behind the glass, there's a disturbing painting she's made, a picture of the house and the family, rendered in a gruesome, dark style. Kate starts researching online, looking up information about disturbed children. Later, she shows her findings to John, but once again, he disagrees with her. Frustrated, Kate tells him that she won't be seeing Dr. Browning anymore. She's becoming more and more concerned about who Esther really is and says she plans to contact the orphanage in Russia, where Esther was supposedly from. When she makes the call, she's told there are no records of Esther before her arrival in the United States. The next day, John goes upstairs to wake Esther so they can go to the dentist, but she doesn't want to go. John gives in and says he'll reschedule the appointment. Instead, they spend the day painting together. Esther tells him she feels like Kate doesn't like her. Meanwhile, Kate is driving Daniel and Max to school and tries to ask them about Esther. But they lie, insisting that she's never done anything wrong. That evening, Esther enters the kitchen and tells Kate she has a gift for her. She gives her a bucket full of freshly cut roses, but they're from a spot in the garden where Kate and John had scattered the ashes of their stillborn daughter. Kate is shocked and upset, grabbing Esther by the arms. John rushes in and tells Kate to stop, explaining that he's the one who told Esther where those flowers were. Later that night, Esther goes out to the garage alone and purposely breaks her own hand. Back in bed, she cries out for John, telling him her arm hurts. When he checks, he sees that the bone is clearly broken. After returning from the doctor, John tucks Esther into their bed. Kate enters the room, but John confronts her. He thinks she caused the injury. Kate insists she didn't grab her that hard. Feeling overwhelmed, Kate goes to a liquor store and buys 2 bottles of wine. She drinks a little, but ends up pouring out the rest of the open bottle down the sink. The next morning, Kate is driving the kids to school. As Daniel gets out of the car, his backpack rips, and when Kate steps out to help him, Esther climbs into the driver's seat and quietly puts the car into drive, with Max still inside. The vehicle slowly begins rolling forward through the snow. Kate chases after it and manages to stop it before anything worse happens. That night, Dr. Browning is back at their house. Kate insists that she put the car in park and says that Max is just covering for Esther. But John doesn't believe her. He shows Kate the second, unopened wine bottle that Esther had found. Dr. Browning tells Kate that she's already reserved a spot for her in a rehabilitation center. Kate, still holding her ground, tries to explain what really happened with the wine in the car. John and Dr. Browning refuse to believe Kate's version about the wine or the runaway car. John accuses her of manipulation. He gives her an ultimatum: check into rehab within a week or he'll leave and take the kids. Meanwhile, Esther corners Max and warns her. If Max tells anyone the truth, she'll shoot their mother. Later, Daniel stops by Max's room. Max signs to him about Sister Abigail and the treehouse. Daniel decides he'll sneak up there and retrieve whatever Esther hid, but Esther overhears their plan. That night, Kate quietly enters Max's room to check on her. Suddenly, Esther flips on the light. A tense exchange follows. Esther produces Kate's personal diary, showing she's been reading it. She tries to bait Kate, but Kate refuses to rise to it. The next morning, Kate phones the orphanage again. Getting nowhere, she searches Esther's room. Inside a plush toy, she finds the small Bible and more photographs of men. Scribbled inside is the phrase Sarn Institute. Kate searches online and calls the number she finds. A staffer explains Sarn Institute isn't an orphanage at all. It's a mental hospital. While Kate investigates, Daniel sneaks out toward the treehouse. Esther follows him, douses the hidden evidence with lighter fluid, then lights it. She sprays more fuel on Daniel, trapping him inside as the structure goes up in flames. Daniel scrambles onto the roof, screaming for help. He loses his footing and plunges to the ground just as Kate notices smoke rising from the yard. Before she can reach him, Esther picks up a rock, ready to finish the job. Max shoves her aside, buying enough time for Kate to arrive. Daniel is badly hurt but alive. At the hospital, doctors report Daniel has a serious neck injury and may not remember what happened. Esther looks uneasy. Kate privately tells John what she's learned about Esther, but he still isn't convinced. While they argue in the corridor, Esther slips into Daniel's room. Max sees her go and follows. Inside, Esther presses a pillow over Daniel's face, trying to suffocate him. Max rushes back for help. Alarms blare, medical staff race in, and they manage to revive Daniel just in time. Kate confronts Esther and, overwhelmed by everything that's happened, slaps her. Orderlies immediately step in, restrain Kate, and sedate her. In the confusion, Kate misses a crucial phone call. Later, she regains consciousness in a hospital bed and immediately asks about Daniel. She pleads with John not to let Esther near Max. John promises to watch over her. Kate remains in the hospital overnight, still visibly shaken. That night, Max removes her hearing aids before going to bed. John tucks her in gently. Once he leaves the room, Esther quietly comes in and picks up Max's hearing aid. Downstairs, John starts drinking. Esther appears soon after, dressed in adult clothes and makeup, and sits beside him on the couch. John is confused as Esther leans in and kisses him. He recoils, explaining that he only loves her the way a parent loves a child. He tells her firmly to go back to her room. Esther snaps, telling him not to speak to her like she's a child. When John says he'll call the orphanage in the morning, Esther leaves the room and begins to cry. Meanwhile, Kate receives a return call from a doctor at the Sarn Institute. He recognizes Esther immediately and urgently warns Kate to get her family out of the house and call the police. He reveals that Esther isn't a child at all. She's an adult woman with a rare hormonal disorder that only makes her look like a little girl. He explains that she was a highly dangerous patient, one of the most violent they'd ever had. Scars on her hands and neck came from fighting her restraints, and she's already killed at least 7 people. Shocked, Kate races home. She can't believe how thoroughly Esther deceived them. Meanwhile, back at the house, Esther destroys her room in a rage and removes all her makeup, revealing her true appearance. John goes upstairs to check on her and finds the walls covered in disturbing paintings. Kate tries to call him while speeding home, but the power goes out and the call doesn't go through. She quickly calls the police. Inside the house, John searches for Esther with a flashlight. She appears and stabs him. He's still alive, But Esther keeps stabbing until she kills him. Max, witnessing it, tries to escape. Esther chases after her. Kate arrives moments later, crashing her car into the house. She runs upstairs and finds John's body, then realizes Max is missing. She searches room by room until she enters the bathroom. Suddenly, Esther shoots her. Wounded, Kate retreats in her bedroom, hiding. Esther doesn't find her because Kate has climbed out onto the window ledge. Max is now hiding outside in the garden. Esther stalks her, firing another shot. From a glass ceiling above, Kate spots them. Esther fires again at Max and gives chase. Just as she gets close, Kate crashes through the glass roof and lands on Esther, stopping her momentarily. Much wakes Kate. Together, they retrieve the gun and flee through the forest. The police arrive and begin searching the house, but Esther is gone. Out in the woods, Esther appears again, running at them with a knife. She tackles Kate, and they both tumble onto the frozen lake. The ice cracks beneath them. They struggle violently. Max picks up the gun and fires, cracking the ice further. Both Kate and Esther fall into the freezing water. Underwater, they continue fighting. Eventually, Kate manages to knock Esther out and begins crawling back to the surface. Just as she reaches the edge, Esther grabs her ankle one last time, pleading not to be left behind. Kate coldly kicks her back down, and Esther sinks below the surface.